AI isn't slowing down, but Techaisle's 2025 research says most businesses aren't ready to deliver on the promise. 87% of executives believe AI will transform their business this year, yet fewer than a third believe their teams can execute. So, where's the real ROI showing up, and what's still just hype? Then we'll dig into a familiar problem with a new label: the enshittification of platforms. As vendors like OpenAI and Amazon tighten control and shift incentives, what does that mean for MSPs and providers depending on them? Can you still trust the platforms your business runs on? We'll also look at how market development funds are officially dead and talk to the man who's declaring them so. Partners aren't asking for more marketing dollars, they're demanding outcome based funding, training, and co development. What does a modern vendor relationship look like when success isn't measured by transactions anymore? It's Wednesday, November 5th, 2025, and I'm Dave Sobel. Welcome to the Business of Tech Lounge, the live version of the Business of Tech podcast. I welcome questions and comments throughout the show, so make sure to submit them in the chat. If you have a question, we'll happily respond to it. Now, thanks to ABC Solutions, a Business of Tech Plus supporting vendor. ABC Solutions specializes exclusively in accounting that supports managed service providers and IT firms. Check them out at abcsolvesit.com. And thanks to Sales Builder, a Business of Tech Plus supporting vendor as well. Focus on your IT sales workflow with the power of automation and visit them at salesbuilder.com. That's BUILDR.com. Our live stream support is provided by Rhythms, delivering 5G connectivity solutions for MSPs, reliable internet access for everyone. Visit rythmz.com for more information. Reminder, we're watching that chat. Throw those questions in there and I'll pull them up right away. Anurag Agarwal is the founder and chief global analyst at Techaisle, a research firm focused on SMB, mid-market, and channel partner IT trends. With prior roles at IDC and Gartner, he's recognized for guiding MSPs and vendors through AI integration, digital transformation, and channel evolution. He's also a frequent flyer here on the show, and I always enjoy calling him a friend. Anurag, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Happy to be here again with you.
I always have such fun talking with you. You come with good data, so that's my favorite thing. I've got to start with the top stuff. Your 2025 research is showing that AI adoption is accelerating across small businesses and the mid markets. And there's a focus on analytics, automation, and operational efficiency. There's that gap, though. 87% of executives believe AI will transform their business within a year, but only 29% think their teams are even ready. And most organizations have not seen any of those outcomes from their AI investments. The story seems to be less about AI everywhere and more about where it actually is delivering some value. So I really want to get your take. Where are SMBs truly seeing ROI from AI right now? And what's hype versus reality?
It's a great question, an interesting question, right? So, first of all, we need to really understand that the investment by SMBs and the mid-market firms in technology is now driven by ROI, right? They really want to optimize their technology investment, and AI is not different at all, right? So AI, they are investing in AI because they have the fear of being left behind. But there are pockets of ROI that are being achieved, right? Whether it's in retail or it's been healthcare or in a simple lawyer office or a dentist office. So you are seeing that there are pockets of ROI, whether it be at the compute level or the inferencing level or the networking level. But it's more so about how can AI really augment the human interaction. So there are three areas where SMBs and the mid-market firms have started to invest in. It started off by the sales and marketing area because of the content creation and looking at their brochures and battle cards and marketing material and so on and so forth. AI really proved valuable to them. But that was more internal, which means that the really internal teams, the marketing teams started to adopt that. But then all of a sudden, when IT started to get involved, then they say, you know what, how do we expand this to customer service? Now, all of a sudden, they started to move beyond their comfort level. Then they started to look at very vertical specific automation, the business process automation, whether be look at a jewelry industry or you look at an e-commerce website and all those places, or having just simple interaction with the customer, which is just beyond the customer service area. So they have started to look at all those areas. So what we are seeing is that it is opening up tremendous different opportunities for the partners. And yes, the teams are not ready, but that's where the teams in the SMBs and the mid-market customers have never been ready for any new technology adoption. I'm sure you will agree with that.
I would. I mean, and ultimately, I'm hopeful that that continues to be the opportunity for providers. Let's kind of talk about that a little bit. Is this lack of readiness awareness? Is it technical? Is it data preparedness? Like, is it different? Like, how are you thinking about that transition, like that readiness to make customers ready?
So awareness is there. In fact, I have never seen, of my 30 to 40 years of covering this industry as an analyst, I have never seen a technology where the awareness level has increased so fast, so quickly, like a wildfire in a California forest, right? Absolutely, right? I'm from San Jose, California, so I can relate to that. But I have never seen that, right? But the key point is, where should the SMB customers start, right? Yes, they may have aspiration for automating 50 of their business processes, but does not mean that they have the data, like you talked about data readiness. They may not have the capabilities to really use that AI application that has been developed for them by a partner or an ISV or anybody like that, right? So the key point here is it opens up tremendous opportunity for the partners, right? And that opportunity is actually, you know what is that Gen AI consulting and strategy look like, right? Can I sit down with an SMB customer, identify those 50 different business processes that they want to really Gen AI, Gen AI-fied, if I can use that word, and say, you know what, maybe you should start with this one use case where it is the least complex to implement, but will have the most impact in the shortest period of time, right? So that's the Gen AI consulting and strategy guidance with the partners need to provide. Then the second is, then okay, now I have got that in place. What should be the Gen AI solution development and integration process? So I think the demand landscape is kind of bifurcating into two, and it opens up tremendous opportunities for the partners and your listeners.
You know, I'm fascinated by your choice of the California wildfires. I'm an East Coaster, right? So I can't necessarily relate perfectly, but there's something to that because preparedness really matters, right? In the wildfire
As
situation,
you said,
it can tear through everything and be incredibly destructive, and you can either be ready or not. One of the conversations that I'd like to get your take on is I've had several conversations recently with providers, and the feedback I keep getting is that customers aren't ready for automation. That if we think about most of this if you talk about Genify, Gen AI, this piece, in order to do a really good job in using these technologies, you got to know something about your business process. You got to be able to explain it. You've got to be able to have it well defined, and most businesses probably aren't there. And the real question then is are providers ready to help? Like, are they in a position, they're probably well positioned to, but do they have the skills? What's your take on
great
kind
point.
of the readiness of providers to be the people to help here?
That's a great point, Dave, because when cloud came out, right, then everybody said, you know what? We all talked to the MSPs, the partners said, you know what, go and deploy cloud solutions. And you know what? The feedback that both you and I got was our customers are not ready, right? So, well, anyway, it took a while for cloud to be really pervasively adopted within the end customers, right? SMBs, the mid market, or even the enterprise segment, right? AI, the customers are ready. But
Okay.
your point, the providers are not ready because in this case, the providers are not being a technology consultant. They have to be a business consultant. They have to be a business transformation consultant. That means they have to have a deep knowledge about the vertical that they are working with. They have to have a deep knowledge about the business processes. They need to have adopted AI within their own organization. They need to have be their own client zero. How many providers have got that capability, right?
Well, that seems really dangerous in terms of the market readiness, because and I like relating it back to cloud, because cloud did have considerable awareness, but I think the conversion was slow based on the speed of that. And we are both recognizing that a part of AI is moving very, very quickly. And that compressed timeline combined with stratospheric customer awareness means that those customers are going to be really sensitive to, is my provider that I'm working with the right person to help me enable these technologies? And they're going to likely be looking around very quickly. Are there particular traits or skill sets or indicators of the providers that you've been talking to and analyzing that are outperforming? Like, how do they look as opposed to the ones that are falling behind?
My God, you're asking some really, really great and deep, profound questions. I think, you may edit this out. I know it's live, but I think we should probably have another of your podcasts where we really talk about this fact as to what is differentiating those partners who are able to scale in deploying AI solutions for their end customers. Because what we did, just kind of throw out, beat our own trumpet here, we actually studied over 5,000 partners and we said, you know what is differentiating, and we call the two segments scaling partners and static partners, right? So the
Okay.
scaling partners, there are three things I will just bring out, right? Which answers your question. One is the scaling partners are investing in their own data capabilities, their own data management capabilities, their own data analytics capabilities, their own data um, integration capabilities. I think you need to have that fundamental capability because we all know that there is no AI without data. That's number one. Number two is that they are doing deep research into the business processes of the end customer, right? They're not going to the end customer and saying, "Oh, tell us what we have a bench of 100 people who are trained in AI. Tell us what we can do for you," right? They are starting the conversation saying, "You know what are your specific business processes, be in customer service or marketing or finance or operation? Where can we help to so that Gen AI can deliver the most significant impact," right? And the third area is that before they are interacting with the customer, they're defining their ideal customer profile and saying, you know what? And once they define that ideal customer profile, they're doing that deep research of their customer using AI themselves before they are engaging with the end customer. So they're building this expertise within their own organization, both in the service delivery model and the sales model to have that meaningful conversation with both the BDM and the ITDMs.
Okay. Now I'm going to put a pin in that conversation. We're going to come back. I'll have you back and we'll have a whole conversation just about the traits discussion there, because I think that's key.
Absolutely. And I think we should talk. So there are 9 different steps, and I'll be happy to walk through all those nine different steps of differentiation for your listeners
Okay,
and
well then,
viewers.
then I know what we're having you back on for, but I want to make sure that and for this conversation, I want to think a little bit then about the platforms we're building on top of, right?
Yeah,
So I'm gonna for those of you who got questions, throw them in chat because I'll throw them into the conversation. But what I wanted to talk about, for particularly today, We're going to get to some of the MDF funds, but I've been thinking a lot about the platforms we're building on top of.
Yeah.
Cory Doctorow is running around with his new book and talking about the enshittification of platforms and vendors trust. I love the name because it really does encapsulate this idea of platform enshittification, where dominant vendors degrade the user experience to extract more value from their partners and customers. That's the basic concept. We can think about it from the fact if you use Google as an example. In the early days, it was a pure search engine, but as they continued to extract more and more value out of every search, well, now we've got more paid links and you've got to scroll a little bit more and there's more Google stuff around it. And it's almost reaching the point of not useful to do a Google search. I want to put that frame a little bit around what we're doing in the channel, because I think if you think about most IT service providers, MSPs, they're reliant on a number of platforms that they use. As those platforms continue to hit scale, they're going to be thinking about ways to continue to extract value. I can come up with several examples, and I know my MSP listeners will have them pop right in because they get angry themselves. So I'm not picking on any particular vendor today. I'd like to get your take on how channel partners really can protect themselves from that platform risk and vendor overreach.
Yeah, so I mean, I thought you would force me to talk about specific vendors here, but no, you're right. Let's not talk about the vendors. But I think that's a fantastic and incredibly timely question, right? The term enshittification is provocative term, right?
Yeah, designed to
It's a
be.
cla- it's a classic life cycle of a dominant platform, right? Because platforms first they are very great for the users, then to grow they become great for partners, and in our world, in your and my world, that's the MSPs and the channel, because they start to provide great margins, leads, and support to get the partner to build their business on their platform, right?
Yep,
But once they have locked in both the partners and the end customers, the incentives start to change, right? The platform's priority actually starts to shift to extracting value for itself from those captured relationships. And actually, to bring it back to cloud, right? When cloud came, burst upon the scene, within 2 years, what was the the biggest conflict that the channel partner said is the vendor selling directly to the end customer, because the end customers could buy SaaS solutions directly from the vendor, right? But then
yeah,
the partners found itself, found its niche, and so on and so forth, and start to kind of see that. But the reason why the platforms are able to do that, because they can start to use their own data, right?
right.
So, and I think what you are alluding to is the fact that for an MSP, this is the number one strategic risk, right? If their entire business model is I resell and manage Microsoft Copilot, or I build this specific AWS service, MSPs are fundamentally at the mercy of the vendor or the platform provider. Because when they decide to raise prices, cut the MSP's margins, or compete with them directly, they have no leverage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the advice that I would give in this whole and certification uh, terminology is your value. You have to define your value. Your value cannot be just access to the platform or the tool. It has to be the strategic agnostic integration of the tool. What I mean by that is you do not become just the Microsoft guy. You are the business efficiency guy. That's what I talked about, the business consultant before, right? Or you are the cyber security expert who happens to use Microsoft or Sentinel One or Okta and maybe other goals to deliver a business outcome. Because if we move away from that platform and think about the fact that we are now moving into an outcomes first era, right? what is that capability that the MSP can provide? Because their value is not the access to the tool itself, it's the last mile of the integration, the custom automation, the security wrapper, and the strategic advice that is portable, that you can provide regardless of which underlying platform is in favor. And we will see, because right now we are talking about these marketplaces, right? Marketplaces are a big thing. Every single hyperscaler is trying to court the partners, specifically the ISVs, to build on their platforms. But then who has the maximum amount of data? It's the hyperscalers with the crowd marketplaces. And who has this contract, this long term contracts with the end customer? Is the hyperscalers, right?
Right.
At some point in time they will unleash it, and we will come back to this whole terminology again, and shitification in terms of marketplaces.
I have to laugh. My producer is fascinated by the fact that the word is actually in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So don't think we're just making this up. This is an actual real world. I want to, before I move on from this, I kind of want to get your take when I put that lens of platform value extraction. I've
Yeah.
been thinking about it, and I really want to get your take on this. Is I've been thinking about it in terms of the kind of cyclical nature of our move from platforms to best in breed. Like, I was talking with Ryan Morris recently, and he was talking about, oh, this is all very cyclical, right? We swing from platform to best of breed, and from best of breed back to platform, and platform to best of breed. The thing that I think is a little different, and I want to get your take to see if I'm like thinking about it the right way, is that the scale of the platforms is reached such a dramatic difference. And particularly when you compare the size and scale of the providers that are doing the work and their customers versus the hyperscalers and some of the very large providers that are the platform players. Is that cyclical nature of moving back and forth kind of going to get broken by the extreme size, or should we expect more of the same in terms of that cyclical nature?
So I think platform is a terminology that is being used by almost every single vendor today, whether it's a small or it's a large company, right?
Right.
Because hey, if you use the word platform to define your tagline, then you have got, shareholder value all of a sudden goes up, right? So I think that's a challenge which is there, right? You have small vendors trying to become a platform company. You've got PC companies becoming a platform company, and a large company becoming a platform company. But the ability to extract value from the platform for itself, actually right now it's a dominant quality, if I can use the word quality, or a feature, not a bug, by the largest companies which have actually proven themselves to be the platform company, right?
Right.
And what they are trying to do is basically trying to stuff the channel, because they need the channel, as many channels, to kind of start to use them. Because ultimately what happens here, to quote Andrew Ross Sorkin, because
Hmm.
once they have this platform and they have got the channels in place, then they really become too big to fail.
Well, that's fair, and if that's the goal, and it makes sense to their strategy. And again, I think this is important for providers to think about it in those terms to understand their strategy. If you've got a question you're watching, throw it in the chat. We'll bring it up on stage, and if you're watching the recording, throw it into the comments section, and I will definitely come back and address it. I think that statement leads me into the area that I wanted to talk to you about next, because if we're thinking about their strategy and the way they want to become the channel and they want to lean in so heavily, you've got some data recently that just came out to talk about both research and channel partner surveys showing that structural shift in the vendor partner relationship. You focused on some of the traditional market development funds, or MDF, and noted they're obsolete. So congratulations for declaring them dead. I think that partners are demanding outcome-based funding, training, and solution co-development. And your stat here, 83% of MSPs prioritize investments that enhance capabilities and drive customer success. What do you think then a modern outcome-based channel partnership looks like?
This is exactly what you said. This is what it looks like, right? Because the partners are saying that they want to move away from this MDF effort, which is an activity based fund, to more like solution development fund, customer life cycle fund, or outcome based funds. So when you start to look at those, the number of funds that they're looking for have actually changed, or the workshop funding, right? What it means is that the partner is looking at it from a customer in perspective rather than the vendor out perspective. Because what does the end customer want? They want to develop a solution. How do they develop a solution? Let's talk about an AI itself, because that's how we started with the conversation. Customer wants to have a POV or a POC, right?
Right.
Can that be subsidized by the vendor if I'm working with a GCP or an Azure or or an AWS? Can that be subsidized? So that's the solution development fund that they're looking for. And ultimately, what that leads on to the fact is, okay, if the POC becomes successful, it goes on to a typical project, then the partner say, you know what? Now I built this, I want to sell it multiple times, but I need some kind of other resources and funds because I'm investing in you. I need to be able to build this out into a full solution which is horizontal enough to be deployed across the same vertical but different size company. That's the solution development fund that they start to look for, right?
Are there
Because
like particular are there metrics or success, the customer demands, there are particular things that are proving to be most successful in those programs? We talk about outcome based. Are there like particular ways of measuring it?
right. So the outcome based is another interesting one, right? Because that's I think number three on the list of the funds that the end customer is asking for. Because what is the end customer looking for? Hey, can you reduce my operational cost in my sales marketing area, for example, right? That's the business outcome that they're looking for. It's a small window of opportunity. The partner says, okay, you know what? I want some capability where now I am just not trying to resell your services, your consumption services, and so on and so forth, but I want to charge for some time and material, some billing costs, but at the same time, I want to be able to be measured by the outcome or the metric I can deliver by reducing the operating cost. So, which means that I need some cash flow capability within my organization, and that's the fund I'm looking for, right? From the vendor, because now I have to deliver that ROI, whether it's take 3 months or 6 months or 9 months, depending upon the size of the project, right? So I need to be able to survive that, right? And that becomes a metric for the end customer. Many partners are starting to kind of do that, and vendors are helping them, but it's not a widespread. But that's what the customers are asking for. But when you start to look at some large vendors, I know we talked about the fact we'll not bring up vendors here, but
Oh, you can always feel free to. I just wasn't gonna like tee it up that way.
no, but IBM is a great example. Although it is a very large scale, right? But that's the way they are thinking about. They are pricing their consulting services, driven by an outcome. Because this is what is happening, Dave, is that the customers are opening up smaller windows of opportunity, right?
Now, now it feels like there's a lot of risk there now, and I because I want to understand the and make sure I'm reflecting it back, because I love the idea. Like in theory, you always say if a customer can say like these outcomes, and if we can measure them, we can then my business grows, and the success of that is how the provider gets paid, and if the vendor can get involved in that, and even if the vendor can finance the solution provider getting there, ultimate alignment. But that's really hard, right? Because earlier we just talked about the fact that not all customers even understand all their processes. So
Yep.
you've got to know that they understand enough of that to measure the business outcomes well. And then they have to be in a line, and everyone has to agree on that. Are there Is this a minority? Is it just a few? How are they accomplishing this when that alignment seems so hard?
So yes, so you need to have a proper tooling and enablement platform, right? If you
Okay.
don't have that, you can't do it because let's look at MDF, right? Activity based vendors gave money to partners to do things.
Right.
For example, run a lunch and learn, sponsor a golf event, send out a mass email blast. The metric for success was the money spent,
Right.
right?
Right.
Today, it is, hey, the customer is becoming more pragmatic. Customers no longer want to pay for effort, they only want to pay for results. And this is what the vendor is also pivoting to, right? Because the vendor is saying, you know what, I don't want to just pay for your effort because you may have sent like 1,000, email blasts, right? I want to pay for results. This is how organizations are evolving their channel program, and this is a pretty seismic change, if I can say that correctly, for channel programs. It's no longer about who is in the platinum tier. It's about which partner can present a business plan that says, if you give me $10,000, I will use it to build a specific automated AI workflow for the dental market. Because bringing up the dentist example again, because I've seen this many times happen again. I will deploy it to 5 new clients and I will project it will generate $50,000 in new recurring revenue within 6 months, right? So that's the conversation that both the vendor and the partner are trying to have. The old model of say, give me $10,000 so that I can send emails about a new AI product is being met with some silence, right? That's the way the difference is appearing.
Now, let's give providers a little bit of a sense. How widespread do you think this approach is? Is it only the top tiers of partner programs? Only the best and brightest. Are they doing this widespread? How widespread is the approach?
I don't remember the exact percentage of partners here, but the demand of that outcome based fund by partners, I think is between 42 to 47%. That's percentage of partners are asking for it. Now,
Okay.
what percentage of partners are doing it? That data I remember exactly. It is right now 14% of the partners are
Okay.
actually have got this in place and they are extremely successful. But then it's not just the outcome based fund, because outcome based fund goes hand in hand with the workshop fund or an assessment fund, right? Which means that, hey, in the case of AI, for example, I am going to do a workshop, not one to many workshop, but a one to one workshop with my end customer, right? Whether it's 1 day workshop or it's a 3 week workshop, I am going to actually do that with that end customer. And that's partially being funded by you, partially being paid by the end customer, right? And out of that will come out a POC, a POV, or a full project. So it's a continuum. It's not only one. It's not at an individual level.
Okay. Now, help me understand, like, because as we wrap up our time, I want to make sure that we're enabling IT providers, MSPs to be able to do this. What's a vendor who's thinking about working this way? What are they looking for in their partners? Like, what are the traits that allow an MSP or IT service provider to be ready to go to their vendor and say, hey, I want to do funding based on outcomes? What are the vendors asking for to make sure that they're prepared?
Absolutely, right? So vendors are actively seeking or actively looking for partners with deep vertical expertise or specific process automation skills, right? Like the MSPs we just talked about who can close that AI execution gap, right? Secondly, the vendors are thinking that the funding is becoming more integrated. Instead of just MDF, it is a mix of co-investment and IP development, data sharing agreements. Because somewhere along the line, there has to be a value exchange between the partner and the vendor, right? So the data sharing agreements and shared risk models. So in a way, if the vendor is going to act more like a venture capitalist for its best partners, investing in their unique solutions, the partner has also got to open it up, right? And then, you know, finally, I would say that one more point. It's about the data. The partners who are winning are the ones who can prove their value. They are able to to really track their every metric, from lead acquisition cost to customer lifetime value, and they share this data. They become transparent with the vendors, right? So in a way, I would say that for MSPs, they think about MDF as a rebate in some sense, right? They should start to think about MDF as a seed funding from a venture capitalist for their next business idea, right? And if they can draw a direct line from the vendor's dollar to a measurable customer outcome, it will be absolutely fantastic.
You've summed it up right there, and that's almost the perfect place to leave, because that perspective of approaching it to be ready for even a theoretical VC to invest in the program, that's the win. Anurag, I know I could do this all day, but I want to be respectful of your time. If listeners are listening to this, they want to get in touch and have specific questions, what's the best way for them to reach out?
They can reach me directly, Anurag at techaisle.com, Anurag. There you have it on the screen, Anurag at techaisle.com. I respond to almost every email if it's not a spam.
And I can definitely verify he does. We always oftentimes have a conversation kicking back and forth. Anurag, I'm going to have you back soon, and we're going to talk about those 9 traits, and we're going to go through those profiles. So I'm going to take my piece of homework to have you back on real soon. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It was quite a blast.
Well, I also want to preview an interview that's coming out this weekend. Brantley Pierce joined me. He's the Chief Technology Officer at RJ Young. And we talked about his insights on the integration of IT services, way workflow automation is working for his customers, and how workplace technology is used to drive those business outcomes. We talked about their tailored solutions in managed services, their growth out of being a copier vendor previously, and the growing demand for compliance and security, as well as the evolving role of automation in enhancing operational efficiency. I want to give you a preview of that interview. Okay, so are you doing a lot of co-managed, what we call co-managed IT, like with internal or with other providers? Like, how's that fit in together?
No, great, good question. We, in terms, if you look at the managed service practice, I wouldn't say it's 50-50, but it's probably 30% of our accounts are co-managed. We actually prefer that work because, you've been in the MSP space. If you're the only technical person in the room, sometimes it becomes hard to have those conversations of how do we move the organization forward. And we can do that. We're happy to do that. That's what we do with the vast majority of the clients. But in those co-managed scenarios where you have a good technical contact on the other end of the equation, we've actually found it to be great. Now, of course, there's always kind of the scope creep, right? What's covered, what's not covered. And you kind of, we try to minimize the finger pointing generally by doing, maybe 10% more than we ought to. But the idea is that having that liaison on the inside of the organization is great. But that is actually a part of our business we're seeing grow quite a bit. Organizations, they want to have their IT person. They want to have the person that is on their team internally, but they also know that one person can't be a jack of all trades. And that's where obviously the managed IT, the MSP space kind of comes in and helps support all that.
Gotcha. Now I want to get a little sense, so you mentioned that's a big growth area. Give me a little bit of sense of what are the growth areas right now? Like, what are clients buying? What are they interested in talking about? And also, what are they not interested in talking about?
Yeah, so completely fair. One thing that's a hot button topic for us and that we're starting to do a deeper dive in, and if you've dealt with any MSPs that are in kind of that work with DoD contractors, is the compliance space. So CMMC, that framework got finalized, the rulings all got finalized, all that's in place now. We're spending a lot of time in that area. We're seeing that as a high growth potential for us. We have locations in Huntsville, Pensacola, we also cover East Tennessee, which has a lot of that government contracting work being done. So that's a huge area. But along with that is kind of, you'd be surprised at how many SMBs just don't have, a SOC or an MDR service available, and trying to get folks on board with that. I think a lot of things, it's this way of technology. It always has been. The clients assume everything's too expensive and out of the price range, but technology always kind of comes downstream, and like enterprise level capabilities eventually become available to SMBs. And that's where we've seen a lot of growth, is kind of implementing those kind of practices, as well as we've done a number of projects recently where we're segmenting networks, right? Where it's like, hey, you have these cloud hosted servers and they're all can see each other, for a security stance, let's isolate all of those. So improving security posture has been a huge thing for us. The compliance work has been a big thing. And then as well as the co-managed services.
I know listeners love it when I have MSPs on the show. RJ Young is doing $12 million in managed services revenue alone. Business of Tech Plus subscribers get interviews in the dynamic ad-free feed delivered early. It's a benefit of supporting the show. Visit businessof.tech/plus to sign up and get early access. That interview will release for everyone on the weekend. I want to thank ABC Solutions, a Business of Tech Plus supporting vendor. ABC Solutions specializes exclusively in accounting that supports managed service providers and IT firms. Check them out at abcsolvesit.com. I want to thank Sales Builder as well, another Business of Tech Plus supporter. Focus on your IT sales workflow with the power of automation and visit them at salesbuilder.com. That's BUILDR.com. Our live stream support is provided by Rhythms, delivering 5G connectivity solution for MSPs. That's reliable internet access for everyone. Visit rythmz.com for more information. Vendors, you too can get your name mentioned on the live show. It's part of our vendor support level for Business of Tech Plus. Now, listeners, if you'd like to support the show and get even more from the Business of Tech, check out our membership options at businessof.tech/plus. There's a free tier with access to daily stories and transcripts, insider access for bonus analysis and early access to interviews, and the leadership tier with exclusive vendor briefings, data reports, and behind-the-scenes insight into the channel. Every level of membership directly supports independent reporting and helps me continue bringing you research-driven coverage of the IT services industry. Again, visit businessof.tech/plus to find the right level for you. If you have a question and are listening to the recording, send it in at question@mspradio.com, or if you're watching on YouTube, put it in the comments below. Thanks for joining me for the Business of Tech Lounge, and I will see you next time.
Part of the MSP Radio Network.